Right now, the world's biggest banks and the most frustrated voters
Mhm.
are actually chasing the exact same thing, something real to hold on to.
Yeah, it is a massive shift happening right in front of us.
Welcome to today's deep dive.
Hmm.
We have a really wild 90-second news hook to start things off. A brand new CNN poll shows the Democratic Party facing a historic crisis with its own voters.
Right, they're experiencing a massive 30-point drop in congressional approval.
Exactly. And at the exact same time, a stunning financial shift is happening globally. Physical gold has just officially overtaken US Treasuries as the top reserve asset for central banks.
Which is just, incredible to see on a macroeconomic level.
So our mission for this deep dive is to connect the dots between all this. We are looking at political instability, massive national debt, and this growing global rush toward tangible physical assets.
And we have a great stack of sources today. We are looking at polling data, a YouTube video from political commentator Devory Darkins, and some really detailed financial expert interviews.
Before we jump in, we should give a quick disclaimer for you listening. Our sources today include some right-leaning political commentary.
Right, and we are absolutely not taking sides or endorsing these political views.
No, not at all. Our goal is simply to impartially report on the arguments and data presented in the source material so you can understand the conversation happening right now.
Exactly. We just want to unpack the data.
So let's look at this CNN poll, because the ideological fracture here is pretty severe. Right now, 52% of Democratic voters are actually dissatisfied with their own party.
Wow. Compared to only 46% who are satisfied.
Yeah, and to give you some context on that, right after President Biden's heavily criticized 2024 debate, 53% of the base was still satisfied. So this is a steep drop.
It really is. And it is hitting Congress the hardest. The net approval rating for congressional Democrats just plunged.
Like off a cliff, right?
Pretty much. It went from a positive 22 points in October 2025 down to a negative 9 points today.
Wait, -9 with their own voters.
Yeah, -9. And the party is completely split on how to fix it. 47% want to move to the center, 28% want to move left, and 18% want to just stay put.
Okay, let's unpack this, because it sounds to me like the party right now is like a family on a road trip where half the car wants to go to the beach, the other half wants the mountains, and the only thing they agree on is that they dislike the driver.
That is a great analogy. And Devory Darkins, the right-wing commentator in our sources, essentially makes that exact argument.
Right, he says they have no solutions.
Yeah, he claims they are united only by their opposition to Donald Trump, and he argues Republicans can win simply by focusing on tangible, basic economic issues.
But I want to ask you, does the source explain why voters are so deeply frustrated beyond just the standard political drama?
It does, actually. The sources point to a much deeper structural issue, which is government overspending.
Okay, so just carrying too much debt.
Huge amounts of debt. The U.S. debt-to-GDP ratio is currently sitting at 100%. Yeah. The source uses a really simple analogy. It is like making $50,000 a year, but having $50,000 in debt.
Wait, let me push back on that for a second. If I make $50,000 a year and I have a $50,000 mortgage on a house, I am actually in pretty fantastic financial shape.
Well, sure, if it is a mortgage.
Right. So is the source saying this national debt is more like bad consumer debt?
Exactly. It is absolutely the latter. This is not like a 30-year fixed mortgage on a tangible asset, like building a factory.
Oh, so it is just to keep the lights on.
Right. It is ongoing operating debt, deficit spending to cover daily costs. And that unchecked spending is why younger generations, like Gen Z, are leaning towards socialism.
Because they feel like the current system is just broken.
Exactly. They feel politicians have broken capitalism. The money just does not go as far as it used to.
Well, if American voters are losing faith in the system at home, foreign governments are taking an even more drastic step.
Oh, for sure. They are making huge moves.
Right, because by the end of 2025, physical gold officially accounted for 27% of global central bank reserve assets.
Which is just staggering. It officially surpassed US Treasuries, which fell to 20%.
And the catalyst for this was really the 2022 invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah, that changed everything.
Because the U.S. and its allies froze $3.9 billion worth of Russia's U.S. Treasury securities.
What's fascinating here is the concept of sovereignty over sanctions.
Right, protecting yourself from being frozen out.
Exactly. Unlike digital bank deposits or treasury bonds, physical gold held within a country's borders cannot be frozen or seized by foreign governments.
Because it is literally sitting in a vault in their own country.
Right. Central banks are buying physical assets to protect themselves from Western financial interference.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because gold is not a perfect solution, right? The source mentions that Tucker Carlson documentary on the gold industry.
Oh, yeah. That exposed a lot of issues.
Right? Didn't that documentary expose a lot of scams? If central banks are buying it, how does a regular person not get completely ripped off?
Well, Colin from Noble Gold responds to this directly in the sources. He acknowledges that Tucker Carlson was totally right about the scams.
Like companies selling falsely rare coins.
Exactly. They mislead people with these rare coins to mark up the price. But Colin says the core purpose of gold remains totally valid.
Which is just having an insurance policy.
Right. An insurance policy that exists completely outside the digital financial system.
And the cultural difference here is wild. The sources point out that in India, family households hold $5 trillion in physical gold.
5 trillion. It is hard to even wrap your head around that.
Yeah, that is more than all the central banks combined.
Mm-hmm.
But here in the U.S., only about 1% of the population owns any gold.
It really highlights a glaring gap in how Americans are taught to handle money.
We are just taught to trust the digital screen.
Exactly. We rely on the screen. So if governments are moving toward physical assets for security, how exactly does an individual do the same thing?
Well, Colin breaks down some really tangible wealth-building strategies for individuals who want to escape this economic instability.
Yeah, he has a very specific rule that you rarely hear in school.
Which is that true wealth is built by accumulating assets. Businesses, real estate, physical commodities.
Right, stuff you can actually touch.
Exactly. And his rule for gold is that it is a 2 to 10 year insurance policy. It is definitely not for day trading.
Yeah, he says if you want to day trade, just use options.
Because options are digital. But young people in their 20s who are burned by college debt, they're starting to buy gold because they want to hold what they call real money.
Which totally makes sense given the inflation we talked about.
But the strategy that I found most interesting was for real estate. They call it the satellite city formula.
Oh, this is such a smart approach. You basically look 30 miles outside of major established urban hubs.
So like a 30-minute drive outside the city center?
Exactly. You avoid the massive prices of the city, and you look for job growth and solid infrastructure in these satellite cities.
And then you buy triple net commercial real estate.
Right. Triple net is the key there.
Because the tenant pays the property taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance, right?
Exactly. So it shields you from inflation. Colin actually used this exact formula to buy a Habit Burger and a Chipotle near Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This raises an important question, though. It really shows the contrast between the traditional American reliance on managed 401k accounts and this growing desire for personal control over wealth.
So what does this all mean? When you look at the big picture, whether it is holding physical gold in a shoebox or owning a burger joint 30 miles outside of town, the core desire is exactly the same.
It is all about sovereignty and control.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. A 30-point drop in political approval, the weaponization of the U.S. dollar, and the rise of satellite city real estate.
They are all just symptoms of the exact same trend.
Right. People and nations are losing faith in the abstract digital systems, and they are rushing back to tangible physical reality.
Because a promise on a screen just does not carry the same weight anymore.
Exactly. And in a world of information overload and political noise, understanding the fundamental difference between an asset you actually hold and a promise on a screen gives you a massive advantage.
It really does.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. If every major player from 20-somethings buying gold to global central banks dropping treasuries keeps pulling their wealth out of the interconnected digital system to hide it in physical assets.
Yeah, what happens then?
Right. What happens to the global economy that relies entirely on that shared trust?